It's way too cold and windy for crab season right now. So instead of going crabbing, I'm going grocery shopping. I'm going to be headed to H-Mart. I've never been there before, so I'm sure there's going to be surprises when I get there. But the main goal is to find some Dungeness crab, some live Dungeness crab instead of this frozen stuff, so I can give it a try. Now, my plan is to cook it just like I would a regular Maryland blue crab, so we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully, it's pretty good. And I got some ideas too from all the oyster videos I've been doing of some different sauces to try with it as well. So now for us, the nearest H-Mart was actually an hour and 34 minutes away. So we got in the truck and drove all the way there. And to be honest, it looked like any other grocery store. We grabbed a cart and went ahead and went inside. Now, right away, when we stepped through those doors, I could tell this is going to be like no other grocery store I've been to. The amount of fresh fruit that was there was absolutely insane. And these pears, let me tell you, were absolutely huge. Even before I started walking around and finding the seafood, I got so many things in my cart that I wasn't planning on getting. I'm going to have to come back and do another video just on different stuff other than the crabs that I came here for, like these frozen oysters. I got to know if they're as good as fresh oysters. There's just so many things. It was so overwhelming. So what I did grab is some of these king crabs right here. They're Chilean king crabs. I'm not sure if they're going to be as good as normal ones. Some snow crabs too. And then I got to the live seafood and the fresh seafood. Unreal. And then multiple tanks of crabs there. I went with the Dungeness crabs, even though there were some abalone and some lobster as well, but I just stuck with that. And then it was time to get out of there because it just was overwhelming. And I found my wife, Carrie, in this aisle right here that has all types of home goods. And to be honest, we probably could have spent about another hour just looking at all this stuff. We ended up with one of these.
Our paddle holder is broken. I think
and once this came out, I knew it was time to go. So here's what we got in the cooler. This is bringing it all back from H-Mart and Whole Foods too. All right, so frozen food wise, I got some Chilean king crab. I don't really know. I got 2 clusters of those. Wonder how they're going to be compared to regular king crab. I got some snow crab too. These are live Dungeness crabs. Let's open these up because I'm not going to store them in these bags. I'll store them just in my refrigerator. But look at that. That is a live Dungeness crab. So I'll steam those up. That's wild. So I got 3 of those too. Well, it actually turned out I only had 2 of them because this one here was actually dead. Just like with any other crab, you don't want to cook them when they're dead because there's a possibility of a whole bunch of bacteria growing in that time that it dies to the time you cook it, and it can make you sick. See, this one is a live crab, and I can tell by the way it's holding its legs up, and the other one was just limp. So next time I go to H-Mart, I'm definitely going to be checking to make sure I get all live crabs. Now, I decided to steam the Dungeness crabs just like I would Maryland blue crabs by just putting some water at the bottom of this pot here with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And while I was cooking those, I made something called Sum. Now, this has quickly become one of my favorite sauces to eat with seafood. It's just some chili peppers, you got garlic, ginger, some cilantro, and then squeeze a lime in there as well. Chop that thing up as best you can. You can use a mortar and pestle if you want, but I got this little handy chopper that does a great job of mixing everything up. And then you're going to add it to another dish and start getting your fish sauce. Now, I use Red Boat fish sauce for this recipe, but I've heard a lot of people say crab fish sauce is actually a really good option. I put about 1/4 to 1/2 cup in there. Now, before even picking out this crab, what I decided to do was to eat the crab butter in the top shell by getting some rice, using that Sum, and mixing it all together with a little bit of crab meat on top of it. So what I had to do first is clean out all the inedible stuff, including like the stomach and all the hard parts that are in the top part of that shell, before I added the rice to the top part of the shell. So I got everything out that's not supposed to be there besides the liquid and the new shell that is growing up in the corner of those points of the crab. And then what I did was added some freshly steamed white rice to this shell. And this is where that Sum that I made earlier is going to come back in. I'm going to put some Sum on top of this, mix it all together, and man, this is one of the best bites I think you can have, bar none. This just explodes with umami and just all types of salty and spiciness, and it is so good. I've turned my nose up at this kind of dish for a long time, but finally I got enough courage up to try it, and I gotta say, if you get some Dungeness crab or really any kind of crab, you gotta give this a try. Now, of course, I also picked out the crab too. I have a bunch of meat that I'm gonna do some recipes with, so I'll make sure I'll do some videos of how I'm gonna use this Dungeness crab meat, so be sure to follow along for more.